Okay. Hello, everybody. It is let's see, it's May 20th of 2021. My name is Evan Adler. I'm a physical therapist here at UNC Health, UNC Therapy Services, and I'm also the chair of the Community Engagement um, Committee. And I am here today as your MC of Therapy Thursday. So welcome to Therapy Thursday. As part of our committee and what we do for the community here, we do a lot of outreach and helping the community bring information to everyone about PT related topics and helping you guys take care of yourselves, especially during this time of COVID, and kind of getting back to activity now. We were doing a lot more in-person type things, but COVID kind of put a halt on that for momentarily. So we started our virtual series, Therapy Thursday. As we go through today, like I mentioned just before, we are recording this, and it will be posted on our YouTube page. And so I encourage you to stop by there and subscribe to our channel. Also, please do visit our Facebook page and like us there, where you'll find more information about PT-related topics and upcoming events. Those links will be put into the chat during the session here today. Okay, so as also during the session, if you do have questions, please do put them in the chat. I'll be monitoring them throughout, and if it's something super urgent, then we will try to get it answered right away. Otherwise, we're going to try and save all the questions to the end. So I think with that, I am going to turn it over to my colleague and friend, Catherine Duncan, who's going to talk to us today about the pillars of fitness. So Catherine, go ahead and take it away.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our Therapy Thursday sort of lunch and learn session. Please feel free, as Evan said, to ask questions. If you put them in the chat box, if appropriate, Evan will interrupt me so I can answer them right away. And if they're not too urgent, we'll save them for the end. But we're going to talk about some pillars of fitness today. And this came up as a topic as so many of my patients have questions about, well, where do I go from here and what's good for me in general? And just a little bit of background about me. I am, of course, a physical therapist and certified athletic trainer. I am board certified in sports rehab, and I also coach. I coach currently high school soccer. So this is an important, near and dear to my heart topic, because when we look at our overall fitness, whether we are an athlete at a very high level or just an average person trying to stay healthy, addressing the different again pillars of fitness will help you prevent injuries, feel good, and be able to participate in the things that you want to be able to do. So I hope at the end of this little talk, you'll be able to identify some of the essential pillars of fitness, understand how they contribute to your overall health and well-being, and also have some little idea of what types of exercises and activities would help develop those different pillars. So as our flyer said, your body is like a house. And if you want your house to last a lifetime, we need to build it with a strong foundation. And the picture I've put up here is of a place in France called Glenham that dates back to the Romans, and their pillars are still standing. So the pillars of fitness we're going to talk about today are endurance, and that is both cardiovascular, or your heart, and muscular endurance. We're going to talk about strength and stability, flexibility of your muscles and mobility of your joints, balance, and power. But what do all these words mean? So endurance, according to Webster's dictionary, is the ability to sustain a prolonged stressful activity. And in terms of physical ability, that is to be able to sustain a continuous activity, meet cardiovascular demands, that's like you breathing, and be able to perform a repetitive motion over time. So that might be, something like running or swimming that involves repetitive motion. And the way endurance activities can benefit your body, it definitely improves your heart health. It improves your blood vessel flexibility. So your blood pressure is kind of a measure of how flexible your vessels are. When you start to exercise, your muscles need more oxygen. And so they should be able to expand just a bit to allow more blood flow to flow through so you can meet those oxygen demands. So it improves your muscle endurance, and that's so that you can sustain work for a long period of time, including work like, working in your garden all day. And sometimes one of the most important benefits of endurance activity is the relief of endorphins, or these chemicals in your body that are like pain meds, but they're built right in. And especially during this stressful COVID year we've had, doing some endurance activity can be a really important mental health treatment. So some endurance activities include walking, running or jogging, bicycling, or if you like to do things at the gym, rowing on a rowing machine or doing an elliptical. Those are all great ways to do some endurance activity. So our pillar of strength is defined as the quality or state of being strong. And do you have the capacity to exert that strength or strength endurance? And do you have the power to resist a force? So, for example, your child runs up to you and jumps into your arms. Can you resist that force without injuring yourself? And the benefits of strength training are many. Weight-bearing exercise improves your bone health. So bones get stronger as we do weight-bearing exercise. So another plug for getting your kids outside to play. It increases your lean mass, which can help weight loss. So lean mass, if you think of a piece of steak, is all the red part. And the more of that lean mass we have in our bodies, the more efficiently we use energy, i.e. food. Doing strength training can increase your ability to perform physical tasks, including working in your garden, cleaning your house, or big heavy activities like, moving packing boxes and things like that. It can also help you prevent injury. So strength training comes in many forms. It can be doing core stability exercises, and our picture in the top is a nice little plank with some variation to make it more difficult. It can involve doing heavy weightlifting or light weightlifting. You can even use things like you've seen people use tractor tires to do strength training. So it can be using your body weight or extra weight. So mobility and flexibility are two different things I want to mention. Mobility has to do with how much you can move your joints. And flexibility has to do with how mobile or long your muscles are. So both of them work together in terms of allowing your body to move through different activities. So are you capable of bending or being bent? And can you change to adapt to your environment or to change to adapt to your particular activity? Both are equally important. Some of the benefits of doing mobility and flexibility activity include that it increases your freedom of movement, or the range at which you can move your body. It improves the ability to perform just regular activities, including getting up and down out of a chair and going up and down your stairs, putting on your shoes, putting objects in a cabinet overhead. It also, mobility and flexibility are also important features to helping you recover from a little trip. Like, say you're walking down the sidewalk and you stump your toe on the edge of the sidewalk. If you've got the mobility and flexibility to recover or catch yourself, you're less likely to be hurt. Mobility and flexibility exercises are many. Yoga is a terrific way to work on both mobility and flexibility. It also works on your balance. Using foam rollers or foam balls, those can help a lot. Doing some nice stretching or dynamic activities, dance. Those are all great ways to work on your mobility and flexibility. Balance is something really important that naturally declines as we age unless we use it. There are some wonderful studies that show we can turn that clock backwards if we practice doing balance activities. So it has to do with being stable in your weight distribution, no matter what the activity you're doing. If you're playing tennis or soccer and you've got a good, stable plant foot, you're going to get more power out of your play. And if you're someone who is returning from an injury, you really need to be sure you work on your balance. It can help prevent falls, improves your ability to deal with uneven surfaces, and helps you participate in sports. I can't think of a single sport where balance would not be helpful. And we'll talk about some of those activities in just a minute. So power is the ability to generate force or work in a very short period of time. Now, I have lots of patients who we don't actually do a lot of power training because of their age or level of activity, but it doesn't mean they shouldn't do any, because there are often times where you have to be able to generate some force very quickly. For example, if you're tripping or about to fall, you need to be able to catch yourself and generate that force quickly. In terms of sports, it improves your performance by doing some power training. And in some sports, it really is helpful in injury prevention as well. So parkour is one of the more, if you've heard of that, is one of the more popular power sports now, where the athletes do things like jumping and leaping over walls or tumbling, around things just in their community. But you can do power training yourself by doing jumping activities or by doing heavy weight, low repetition strength training with weights. So how much is enough? Well, it depends on what you want to be able to do. So if you're just trying to stay fit, that's different than if you're trying to, win a race or compete in an elite level activity. Are you chasing your kids or your grandkids at the park? Or are you trying to enter a powerlifting competition? If you're only trying to do a short bike commute, that's very different than training for the Leadville 100. If you're, a sedentary office worker who just wants to have good health versus a UPS driver who needs to be able to lift 70 pounds and carry it up and down stairs. So you need to establish your goals before you decide how much is enough. The second big question is how much is too much? Well, again, the answer, as always, is it depends. And one way, or some things that can signal you that perhaps you're doing too much or you're doing too much too fast for where your present fitness level is that you may feel fatigue and not recovering. Now, there are some sports where we deliberately feed on this fatigue in a certain period of the training cycle. And I would say running and swimming are two easy examples. When someone is actually a competitor, they are going to continue training when they are fatigued on purpose. They're trying to really break down their body, but then before their big competitions, there has to be some recovery time. But if you're just doing your own training and you're finding that every day you're getting more and more fatigued and you're not recovering, you may need to step back and see if you're doing too much or too much too soon. If you start dreading your workouts, the ones that you used to love, or you're trying to avoid going to class, perhaps you're doing too much. If you're experiencing aches and pains that are getting worse, you may be doing too much. And again, I put the asterisk there because it depends. If you are getting muscle soreness, for example, but you're doing some heavyweight strength training, muscle soreness is not necessarily a bad thing. We just need to have a bit of built-in recovery time in order to actually benefit from that heavyweight strength training. And another measure to know if you're doing too much is if your performance is declining. So some things to consider when you're planning your own kind of fitness routine is, what are the demands of the sport or the activity that you want to be able to do? So if you're trying to compete in cycling, you need to keep in mind what the demands of that sport are versus the demands of, say, if you're a member of the Bouncing Bulldogs and you're jumping rope all the time. You need to also consider the level of competition or participation. And I'll use soccer as an example because that's so popular in this community. We've got all levels of soccer, from recreational to professional, all right here in our triangle area. So depending on the level that you want to play, that will help you decide how to set up your own fitness program. You also need to consider the time of year or the cycle of your season. So let's say you're doing mountain biking and the season is in the spring. You're going to do different activities in January than you're going to in May. You need to consider your age. I put the asterisk there because age is a number, but I'm going to consider this to mean your physical age. So you might be 50 years old and be the equivalent of a 70-year-old if you've never done any exercise. So you need to start at a different level than if you're 50 years old and you've been exercising your entire life and your physiologic age is more like a 30-year-old. Your relative fitness level is important to consider. It is no fun to be a sedentary person and then go and join your local advanced CrossFit class. So, and it's really probably quite dangerous. You need to start at the level where you are and then build your way up. You also need to consider your general health, and that's something you can talk with your primary physician about. What equipment do you have available to you? During COVID, we had to be very creative. When the gyms weren't open, we had no gym equipment. If you were lucky enough to be able to buy some at the front end, maybe you got some at home. But I know when I go to the beach, for example, I do my strength training by finding some rocks or logs and I take them out to the beach and I use those for my weights. And we've all gotten really creative at doing all kinds of activities outdoors that we might normally have been doing indoors in a gym. Your time, so we have to be very efficient when we're working full time and trying to keep our fitness and wellness in mind. You got to consider what time you have available to you. And I highlight this last one, most importantly, find something that brings you joy, that you like to do, that you find it fun. It's either socially engaging if you want to be social, or it allows you to be more introspective and private. But find something you love, because if you don't like it, you're not going to stick to it. And if you do stick to it, I would say, why torture yourself? There's got to be something out there that you'll enjoy doing. So frequency. Strength training, we generally want to do 2 to 3 times a week. It depends on your season, what your sport is. And 2 times a week has been found to be reasonably good at maintaining your level of strength. 3 times a week will probably help you increase it. Again, you've got to, it depends on where you are in your seasonal year for your activity. Endurance training, 2 to 6 times per week. Notice that I didn't put 7, because if you're one of those endurance athletes, you really do need to have a day that is a bit of recovery built into your training schedule. Maybe it's not every 7 days, but somewhere in that 7 to 10 days, you need to have a recovery day. Flexibility, stretching, mobility activities, 2 to 3 times a week. You could do it every single day, that would be fine, but at least 2 to 3 times a week. Balance training 1 to 2 times per week, and power training 1 to 2 times per week. Okay, I look at that and I say, holy cow, does that mean we have to do between 8 and 16 workouts per week? How on earth do we do that and have a life? Now, again, if you're a professional athlete, you probably are doing 8 to 16 workouts a week, including having a recovery day. But you don't have to do each thing separately. You don't have to spend an entire workout doing balance activities. Think of it as incorporating it into, if you're going to work out 4 days a week, you need to figure out, have I incorporated all those little pieces into my 4 days? The American Heart Association, by the way, recommends 150 minutes of moderate activity or 75 minutes of vigorous activity per week for adults, and about an hour a day for kids. So it's more than some people like to admit, that we really need to commit to ourselves to do some physical activity. So I'm going to give you a little couple of sample workouts so you can have a little bit of idea of how you can combine activities into a single workout. So you could take a nice easy warm-up jog, whether you're in a gym or you're jogging outside. Just 5 to 10 minutes, nice and easy. Some dynamic stretches. Dynamic stretches are, you think of them as moving through the range of a muscle. You don't have to stand there and hold something in a stretch position, but you're moving it through its length. Then take some time to do some of your strength training. So you can use your body weight. If you're exercising at home and you have no equipment, your body weight can be helpful. You can combine exercises that involve single leg standing to add some balance exercise to that. So for example, you can do an overhead press, holding weight, pressing overhead while you're standing on one leg, or you can stand on a disc. You can do some work sitting on a Swiss ball while you're doing strength training that will help you incorporate some balance. Once or twice a week, spend a few minutes doing some plyometrics or jumping, bounding kinds of activities. Some things that would qualify as that kind of activity would be hopping or jumping over little cones. You can hop up onto boxes or up onto the curb, doing some skipping or jump rope. And then let's say you're at a gym or you have access to a rowing machine or an actual boat in water. You can spend another 15 minutes doing some rowing and then a few minutes cooling down. And that's just a little over an hour, and you've really hit just about every one of our pillars in that 65-minute workout. Another sample workout, not quite as long. Spend a few minutes using a foam roller. There's lots and lots of YouTube videos on how to use a foam roller, which really helps with your flexibility and mobility. And then do a little bit of yoga, 5 or 10 minutes of sun salutations. And again, YouTube video is a great way to get a few minutes of some yoga for flexibility and balance. Then if you're doing this all at home, easy to do core strengthening exercises right on your floor. Planks, side planks, dead bugs, which those are an abdominal activity, bridging and push-ups. Then take a swim. A good 30 minutes of interval training is a great way to get your cardiovascular fitness. It also will work on your strength. And that's about a 55-minute workout. And again, you've hit most of your pillars of exercise with that workout. So this is one of my favorite houses. For those who don't recognize it, it's Monticello. And I'm a UVA grad, so I'm a little bit partial to it. But a very solid house that's been around a long time. Hopefully you will consider all those pillars of fitness for your own house or your body so that it will also last you a lifetime. And if anyone has questions, I would love to see if I can answer them.
Catherine, thank you so much. That was great. A lot of information in there. I have I have one question that came up, but I want to pose one of my for myself first. So the sample workouts that you gave there, they all totaled about, 65, 55 minutes, somewhere in that range. What if
Mhm.
we just don't have that kind of block of time? What's a good way to adjust for that? Let's say we only have 25 minutes. Enough to knock something out quick. How can we adjust for that?
So in your short workouts, remind yourself first that even 15 or 20 minutes of exercise is actually really beneficial. So many of you may be familiar with the 7-minute workout, which became popular in the New York Times, and it's an app you can get. Um, it became popular several years ago, and actually in 7 minutes you can get some strength training in there. So if you only have 25 minutes, maybe you run through the 7-minute workout twice, so you'll feel some work with that. And if you have stairs at home, you can walk up and down the stairs for 5 or 10 minutes, and that's a terrific little workout. I would say if you only have your 25 or 30 minutes, that you may only be able to put 2 of your pillars into a workout for that given day. But if you're trying to get to your 150 minutes in a week of moderate activity, and you're going for 30 minutes a day, or 30 minutes 6 days a week, whatever you can get in, you are going to need to figure out how can you use that 30 minutes wisely and get your pieces together. But like I said, I would say try just 1 or 2 pillars in your 30-minute workout. And you have to make it something that's fun so that you'll go look forward to your 30 minutes.
Great, thank you. We did have one question that came through, and it was in reference to something earlier in your talk. And the question was, is relative fitness level an actual metric? So is that something that we can actually assess as a PT professional, or how do we put our finger on the pulse of where someone is with their relative fitness level?
Hmm. That's a great question. And so whether or not there is a study that says, X level um, of this ability equals that level of fitness, I have not seen one. What I would do as a PT, or what we would do as PTs when we're looking at someone who's needing general conditioning, which we do get a lot, either general conditioning or injury prevention, is again, I look at what are the demands for that person. So, for example, right now, I have a high school athlete as a client who is a very high level athlete, but their pillars were not all at equal levels, let's say. And so that's different than someone who, for example, is a 65-year-old, never been an athlete before, and wanting to learn how to exercise. So I think your relative fitness has to do with what the demands are of the activity you either are currently trying to do or that you desire to do. Um, it's a balance between that and where you're starting. So we have to consider that when we look at strength. a 10-year-old is going to have a different level of strength than a 25-year-old, than a 50-year-old. And you have to put all of those little pieces into perspective. So I can't give you a number that says, if you can run at this speed for 30 minutes and you can have this measure of flexibility. All those pieces are important for the picture, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if I answered that particularly well. We do definitely have norms for mobility and flexibility. Those are really easy for us to identify. And I would say probably, yes, there are norms for cardiovascular fitness. But again, I'm going to look at that individual and say, what is it that you're desiring to do? Or what are the demands of the activity you need to be able to do? And then let's see where you are. And that's why I use the term relative fitness, because it's relative to what you need or want to be able to do.
Great, thank you. Yeah, and I would just reemphasize on that, it's all about where you are and where you want to go, what your goals are, having reasonable, measurable, attainable goals, and interval goals as well. So being able to get to these certain places. If you want to run a marathon and you're starting from the couch, well, you got to run a 5K. You got to get to a 10K. You're going to have these incremental levels you're going to get to, and those absolutely are measurable. So yeah, so thank you for that question. All right, so any other questions out there? If people have questions, please do put them in the chat. We can kind of get through any other ones that are there. I hear silence. I see silence. All right. Well, all right. So I'm just
I will.
yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, I will mention that for every one of these pillars, there are just fantastic resources, both at your, local fitness and wellness centers, but also online. So if you are not a gym kind of person, but you really want to be able to do some strength training, you can do a lot of things right in your house. If you don't know how to start running and you've always wanted to run, you don't have to be someone who runs a 5K, 10K, or signs up for a marathon to be a runner. I've got clients who like track. They go to a track and they run 100 meters multiple times, but that they are runners and they have learned how to do that speed work well. So there are just lots of things that you can do right from your house or at your local park. You don't have to become a gym rat to be fit.
Well, I'm inspired to go do some parkour now, so that's great.
Yes, yes.
Um, so I did drop those links back in there again in the chat for Therapy Thursday and our Facebook page. So please do check those out. If you missed any part of this talk or would like to watch it again, or any of our other Therapy Thursday videos, please do go to our channel. They're all there waiting for you to watch whenever you like. All right, so I guess if there are no more questions, going once, going twice. All right. Well, everyone, have a great rest of your Therapy Thursday and great rest of your week into the weekend. Memorial Day is coming up, so I hope everyone has a nice, relaxing time. Our next one will be the first Thursday of June, and our therapist Maddie is going to be talking about knee health. So do keep an eye on our Facebook page for the event when it goes up and more details on that. All right, thank you all. Have a wonderful day.